Well, greetings all, and I hope ye are having a fine day. So, it is Talk Like a Pirate Day. So, for those of you that forgot, it is September the 19th, which, as always, is Talk Like a Pirate Day. So, welcome to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. Hello, everyone. Hey, Janine and Kurt and Damaris and Alicia made it. Yay! She is here today, so excellent. Kathy and Harvey and uh, yeah, Katsurita and uh, Ellie. Yes, good. And Tim. Hey, excellent. Yar. Hey, good for you, Tim. Way to get in the spirit. Right. Yar. Yes. Funny history of international Talk Like a Pirate Day. It was just a couple of guys playing racquetball and getting into the spirit of let's just talk like a pirate the entire time we're playing, and it caught on from there. I mean, yeah, I think the timing of it kind of started to get big in the early 2000s around when Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie series, got big. So I think that probably helped, but always fun. Yes, that is true. Now, I'm not wearing pirate garb. I actually don't really own pirate garb. I never have. I've never really gone that route. Always sort of the hilt or the Renaissance or medieval look. I've never really done the pirate garb thing. I knew well, I always knew a lot of people who did do it, and they did it so well. I just was like, yeah, I don't want to get in on that. That's your area. I'll leave it to you. You go with your niche is kind of it. Um, yeah, maybe just the iPads just for those situations that warrant them. Maybe. Yeah. Um, oh, actually, yeah, they didn't talk that way, Damaris. That's we do. It's mostly thanks to two sources: Robert Louis Stevenson for the book Treasure Island in the late 1800s, that started a little bit of that. The character of Long John Silver, and then the Disney movie in what 1950, I think, that where the actor who portrayed Long John Silver, that's how he presented it, and uh, that became the de facto standard of this is how pirates talk. If you go back to some of the earlier movies about pirates, like some of the Errol Flynn movies, like Captain Blood or things like that, or some of the even the earlier black or silent films, they didn't talk like that. So that's sort of the origin, and in it has a yeah, it just became the stereotypical. This is what pirates sounded like. Generally, pirates sounded like people. They were they sounded like where they were from. If they were British, they sounded British. If they were French, they sounded French. That's kind of it. There was no guttural pirate speak. It didn't. Uh, yeah, yeah. That's sort of a the Seahawk. Yeah, that's the other Errol Flynn movie. But yeah, that's the origin. So if you were curious, there you go. You can blame Disney for so many things, and yet this is another. So just for you, just for you. Right, exactly. You're totally right, Janine. That they sound like sailors, just regular people. Uh, oh, excellent. Yes. Uh, Treasure Island is, of course, the classic Robert Louis Stevenson. It's a classic novel. Of course, the best version by far is Muppet Treasure Island. Of course, actually, it is a good movie. Uh, right. Now that would be interesting. That would definitely be an interesting write. Oh yes, Drew. Yes, you're late, but it's okay. We were discussing Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is today. So for those of you who just showed up, that's where we are. Um, well, yes, you can blame Disney for so much, but you can also thank them for so much. I mean, yeah. Um, I don't know if it's the best, but it's definitely up there. Arguably the best is how I would phrase it, because everybody has their own taste. I mean, some people like to go the more realistic, as much as you can go realistic on Treasure Island. But yeah, it's certainly, I think, the most fun. The most fun. Oh yeah, 1934 Treasure Island, classic, classic. Um, yeah. Yeah. Actually, you're right, Damaris. Treasure Planet was a fun one. I think a very underrated film. It kind of suffered in the box office and was a bit of a bomb, but I don't think it was the movie's fault. I think it was the way they marketed it, and unfortunately, just I think it was a bad time that they didn't release it right. And it's actually a pretty good film. Ah, the classics. Oh well, yeah. Well, I really wasn't planning on talking about pirates this long, but that's what you do to me. We talk about we talk about what we talk about. That's how it always works. Uh, right, right. I won't because that's a dangerous topic to say the least. Uh, we're not even. Yeah, not. Yeah, that was. Yeah, another unjustly ridiculed movie. I think yes, very much a shame. So, well, I did want to, since I didn't have much time last week, I wanted to talk about a few things, a few more things about Dragon Con that I got a few pictures. I told you before that I didn't have my phone most of the time at Dragon Con because, well, I had to use it for the uh, had to use it for taking credit cards. And I'd been researching this for a long time, so I finally just got in over the last couple of days a new tablet. Ooh, yes, a new tablet. Nice. And it is I'm strictly using it for credit cards for at shows. It's on the My phone is on the Verizon network, so this is on T-Mobile, so I cover my bases. But it's it was only $75, and I'm going through Tello, which is a company that uses the T-Mobile network. And for data only, you can customize your plan with Tello. And for data, I set it for 1 GB data per month for $6 a month. That's all I pay. So yeah, for $72 a year, I get pretty much as many Square credit card swipes as I want. I mean, it comes out to about, I think the math is about 16,000 swipes a month is what I have. And if I ever get that many, I'll pay for the more data. So yes. So yes. Right, right, right. So I got that set up, and for the future should not be a problem. So I should have my phone with me, and yeah, unless T-Mobile doesn't work where I am, I should be able to take a lot more photos where I go. That's the goal because I didn't get to take as many. I wanted to show off a few things though. Here we go. That my new CD is out, and that'll be going up on Bandcamp here in the next few days. And yeah, I'm really happy about it. It's been a long time coming, and I really like it. So good stuff. Really, really awesome. And yes, a couple of pictures from Dragon Con that I found that other people took, just to kind of give you an idea of what it was like for those of you that don't get to go, because Dragon Con is, well, pretty awesome. Uh, Here's one of me doing one of my panels, workshop really, on a recording on a budget. Um, you're not wrong. uh, yeah, yeah, that's something else. Yeah, I mean, you have to find out. For me, with travel, you never know. I mean, it depends. My phone is using Verizon, and so I either want AT&T or T-Mobile, and uh, T-Mobile, they just had a great deal with Tello, so it's hard to beat. In fact, I could have gotten away with $5 a month for 500 megs of data. That's still like 8,000 wipes, still more than enough. Um, but I I thought let's go ahead and pay the extra dollar a month just in case I need to use it for a stream real quick to show a video or to do something a little more, download an app using the data to update the app, whatever. I mean, just to have that option, I thought it was worth it as a backup. Um, oh, okay, well, good to know. And that once again, in those events, that's why I would have my regular phone with that uses the Verizon network. And so I have a backup in case. But I wanted an inexpensive main device that would work most of the time, so I'd still have access to my phone. And it also can work as a hotspot, so I can have a second, I have another tablet, so I can have a regular tablet connected to it through the just through the wireless network, but then share that data plan. So I can have two tablets taking credit cards if I have a big show and multiple people helping me. So yeah, anyway, the idea was to find a low cost solution for taking credit cards. You know, that's always the goal. You don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you don't have to. Fair enough. Fair enough, Alicia. Anyway, so yeah, this is just the me doing the my workshop on recording on a budget, and it's they always have it on a Saturday morning, which at 10 a.m., which I kind of like and don't like at the same time. When before they started doing that, I'd get like 150 people in the room, all huddled and asking questions, and it was a mess. And then once after that, they put me at the same time they have the Dragon Con parade. It's Saturday at 10 a.m. and a lot less people showed up. I usually get around 30 now, which I kind of like because I go get in there early and I ask everyone who comes in, what are you working on? What are you wanting to get out of this and everything? And I put a PDF up there that people can download that has most of the basic information I'll talk about. I summarize based on what people want, and I can then take the time to answer their questions so that everybody gets that personal feedback. And I kind of like that. So I do like those kind of things. Here's a picture of one of the shows I did Sunday night, Hobbit Drinking Songs show with my old bandmate Mark Gunn. And that's, oh yeah, the PDF is still up if you want to actually look at it. It's, yeah, theirishbard.com/PDF. Um, if you want to check it out. So yeah, it has some information. Feel free. But yeah, I just leave it up generally. But yeah, this is Hobbit Drinking Songs. Hundreds of people in there, and few hundred people waiting outside to get in. It wild time, really a really good crowd, a lot of fun, and they were all singing along to the songs and pretty much anything Tolkien. And I mean, it's always been a huge show, but I think it's kind of hit a resurgence with the new Lord of the Rings show, TV show that's coming out. So it's kind of getting a new audience and more interest again. So yeah, yeah, it is. It's a great crowd. Definitely a fun show. Oh, and I wanted one last picture I wanted to share because like I said, I didn't have many, but I always every year I try to look for my favorite costume, my favorite cosplay. You know, people who dress up like characters from their favorite fandom or whatever. And I saw one when I was at Evening at Bree playing that event. We played music for that at the beginning, and this couple walked in, and here I'm going to show you. Here's the picture of them on the right there. I'm dressed as Sorsha and Mad Mardigan from Willow, and I went ahead and put some pictures, just clips from screen caps from the movie itself of what they look like in the movie. And they just did a great job. I mean, she even looks a lot like Sorsha. I mean, well, Joanne Wally. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Right? That I always do too. I dress like myself. I don't dress up like other people because I'm promoting myself. Um, but yeah, I'm the same way, right? Isn't that just pretty cool? I mean, I was really they did a is an interesting take because normally the you get a couple, the guy would normally want to dress all macho and do the whole actually use the word macho. I must be tired. Dress like Val Kilmer, you know, and the whole decked out in armor and probably the gold armor or something. But honestly, I thought that was brilliant for that one scene where he's dressing up like a woman to try to hide, and Porsche's all decked out in full armor, and it's great. It's such a good job, and they really look the part. So I just thought that was great. So right. Well, you know, yeah, I just I you know, I was walking through Dragon Con and at one point and somebody walked next to me and said, "Oh gosh, I really like your Witcher outfit. That's great." And I looked at him, I was like, "What? No, no, no. I'm dressed up like this musician, this great musician I love, Andrew McKee. Oh, he's great." But yeah, I mean, it was yeah. Apparently, my outfit resembles at least one version of the Witcher. So wow, um, right? Well, um, thank you. But yeah, yeah, that is. I always liked Willow. I always thought it was an underrated film. It did pretty well in the box office, but it was like one of the first movies to use digital effects a little bit, and the practical effect. I mean, they used a combination, and some of them hold up really well, and some of them don't as much. So you kind of get a weird sort of there's a few scenes where the special effects are not great now, but a lot of it is just beautiful and beautifully filmed, and the acting is great and the story is great. So I really love the movie. Um, right? Yeah, you could do that really well. That's always yes, Big Lebowski. That would be a good one. And I usually you see at least one Big Lebowski at Dragon Con every year. At least one. It's so common. It is so common. Oh, that's not. I mean, I've had my stuff stolen so many times. I mean, they used uh, they used one of my bits for an episode of The Big Bang Theory. I mean, all over. I mean, Brobdingnagian. They used a whole joke bit about it, and it was straight from a recording on the website, just talking about how to say Brobdingnagian. I mean, it was almost verbatim. They just took it, but I was like, yeah, it's fine. Just do it. Have some fun with it. I mean, everything is at least borrowed partially from something else. So you get that. I mean, you got to be careful where you draw that line. But yeah, yeah. So anyway, oh man, we're really getting. I've got so many things to talk about, and we're really jumping into weird places. Uh, but anyway, I was thinking recently about how where Ren fairs are. Um, oh, oh, right. Yes, yes, nice. But no, where Ren fairs are, and I remember when the pandemic first started, spending a lot of us from all over the U.S. would get together in a weekly Zoom meeting and talk about this is what we're doing, this is how we're getting online, this is technology we're using. I mean, there was a lot of sharing initially because it was all new. Um, so yeah, 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 weird places, yeah, totally. Um, so yeah, we were having all these meetings, and at one point they came up with the idea of we want to do, or at least some of them did, we want to do an online Ren fair. Um, and I'm like saying, okay, how? And they wanted to recreate a Ren fair online completely, make so that you didn't even have to go to Ren fair. You could just go online and get the same experience. And I'm like, yeah, you can't do that. Nice try, but it's a losing proposition at the get go. Um, I mean, what do y'all think? I mean, can you actually imagine a virtual Ren fair being? I mean, really, just imagine going this and that's your Ren fair right there. That's as much foliage as you're going to get from your Ren fair. Real one, real foliage anyway. So yeah, it's really is that something y'all would actually be interested in? Because for me, it's like they just totally missed the point of what a Ren fair and VR. Um, So yeah, I don't really. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, it does have that, but um, I mean, a lot of the reason people go to Ren Fair is to get outside. I mean, you're trapped in an office all week, and you go out and you experience nature. That's why it's located outside of the city. Most Ren Fairs are not in the city; they're out in the country where you have the space and the room and nature and all of that. It's like going to a national park in a way for some people. You kind of get that. It just doesn't make sense. A lot of it is just getting outside and enjoying it. And the food and the flavor of that experience. I mean, if you're going to do that, why not just listen to the CD? Why do you ever go see a band live? because it's different. It has a different flavor, a different taste. It's a totally different thing. And you can enjoy the recorded music, but the live music is something special. Um, well, yeah, and I mean, you can talk about that, but here's the thing: VR, they're just starting to get to a place where video games on VR work. But if you're trying to recreate things, I mean, behind the scenes tours are what really work. I mean, can you imagine saying VR Disney World and doing that, or VR Disneyland, and that's your experience, and they charge you money for it? I mean, a behind the scenes tour on VR? Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, hey, let's see that basketball court at the top of the Matterhorn mountain for the Matterhorn bobsled ride in Disneyland. Let's see it. I mean, and hang out and see everything. But yeah, I mean, it's it's really it's really tough. I mean, I think, and that's sort of like right. If there's no other way, and I saw it as okay, if you want to spend all your money on that and your time during the pandemic when there is no other option, okay. But they were talking about continuing it afterwards, and I just don't see it because my take is do something cool, sure, but don't try to recreate Fair. Do something different that has some of the elements from Fair that's its own thing. If you try to recreate Fair too much to replace Fair, you're never going to get there because there's too much missing from it. So um, that's that's kind of what I see. I think they were started with the wrong premise, is I guess what I'm saying. That's the issue. Um, so yeah, it was kind of weird. They were too stuck on trying to recreate Fair exactly, and that was a problem. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it kind of started making me thinking. Would and honestly, I think they did actually try to do that a little bit online. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but they did that for a little while. It looked like an um, old '90s video game or an early 2000s phone game, top down look where you'd walk around as an avatar and go to different places and you could see live shows. I don't know. I mean, I think while it didn't work very well, and I don't think they're still doing it at all. So yeah, I think I was kind of right about that. That I think it was misplaced time and effort. Um, so I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I guess, and that's kind of it. Some people went early on because there was nothing else. But when you got Ren Fairs back, you've got to create something that's different than Ren Fairs, so that when Ren Fairs come back, you can both is good. Uh, yeah, and that's a good idea as a promotion. Show a taste as a promotional thing, or how about a behind the scenes? How about doing Fair and then having a VR experience where you can experience some of the backstage stuff, some of the commentary on the shows by the musicians. I mean, even do a question and answer with some of the performers or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things. Um, yeah, it's already almost 7:30. This is going to be a long show. I'm just going to tell you right now, long show today. So yeah, it was kind of a weird thing. So it got me thinking about video games in general. I mean, are video games good at conveying history? And of course, there's the obvious one that people always think about as the history video game de facto, and that's of course the Oregon Trail. Um, Most people played that a little bit, at least once when they were young. I thought a little bit. Um, Funny. But yeah, I mean, for those of you that remember it, it started out as a text-based game in the 70s and eventually got graphics in the early Apple II era in the 80s. But it was it was essentially a game where you went on the Oregon Trail and your decisions for how you equipped yourself, who you were, what you did on the path determined what happened to you. And you did. I mean, and I was way ahead of you on that. That's the obvious one. Now, of course, in honor of Talk Like a Pirate Day, I had to go with the one that I remember the most as a kid. and that's Sid Meier's Pirates. And it was always for me. That's what I loved. Um, I loved playing that because it was all about being a pirate in the Caribbean, in the what 16th and 17th century, and it was yeah, the classic "You have died of dysentery" is the classic ending in Oregon Trail. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was made by Sid Meier, very famous for creating Civilization later. And this was the first game where they put his name on it, Sid Meier's Pirates, because it was different than the games Microprose normally did, and they were afraid that people wouldn't be interested. Huge hit. And because of that game, that led to him creating Civilization. If it wasn't for this game, Civilization as a game wouldn't have happened. So yeah, I mean they remade it with better graphics in 1993, Pirates Gold, and then a whole revamp in 2004, which is still playable. I think you can get it on Steam or GOG or some of those. That it's a fun game. They included dancing with period music, where you have to follow the person you're dancing with and dance throughout there at a different part when you're trying to get in good with the governor. I mean, it's that it's a lot of cool stuff, not just sword fighting and ship fighting, but it's a fun game. And really, as far as learning, I learned the geography of the Caribbean very well as a child. that I could really point to different places, the Gulf of Maracaibo and the Bay of Campeche, and point to where Barbados or Veracruz are on the map, even now. So yeah, I think it helped with geography, a little bit about the politics and the history, maybe. It was a fun game, and Sid Meier is brilliant at that. Quite brilliant. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. There are lots of other games that try to do that type of historical accuracy. Like for World War II, you had like the first person shooters that were so popular for the last 20 years, like Company of Heroes and Medal of Honor and Brothers in Arms and all of that, and the World War One version, Verdun. And then you had like the medieval versions like Crusader Kings 2 and Europa Universalis and Kingdom Come Deliverance, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, mainly about war and shooters. I don't know if you really learn a lot about history other than a little bit about what it looked like. Um, some games like LA Noir kind of redid the 50s version of LA, 1950s. That they used historical pictures and maps and everything, and it walking around, that's what it looked like in the 50s in LA. So you kind of get that with that creative story on top of it. So you get the setting. And Age of Empires and Civilization, those games kind of teach you a little bit about how civilizations kind of develop over time in the time scale. And okay, I'll bring it up. Assassin's Creed. You keep talking about it. In Assassin's Creed, I mean, the story itself not historically accurate, but the settings, they spend a lot of time trying to make them as historically accurate as possible. The costumes, all of that, um, very very good. So I get that. Um, but yeah, I I don't know. I don't know. It's really, I don't know if here's my take on it. I think it's a little interesting. You learn a little bit about history, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of cheating. I mean, imagine creating these worlds from scratch and how much work it would be. Or you just go to history books and information and just copy that. You go to the historical blueprints, you go to the pictures of the area, and you create that. You don't have to. Creating is hard. And in my workshops, when I talk about writing music, I always say this: creating is hard, editing is easy. So I think really they're lauded for making it historically accurate, but honestly, it's a lot easier to do that than to world build from scratch and to try to make it believable. It's almost a cheat. So I think I don't think they're doing it. I mean, Oregon Trail maybe to an extent, but I think most of them they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're not doing it to teach history. They're doing it so they don't have to world build scratch. It's easier, and it also people can relate to it easily. They can look at the elements of the world, and it is interesting. You're right. Um, So yeah, I really don't think games are great at teaching history now. I mean, you look at children's games, and you know what? You had like um, besides Oregon Trail, you had like the classics are fairly old now, like the Magic School Bus series back in the '90s, late '90s, early 2000s were pretty popular, and uh, oh, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was pretty good at teaching some history um, for children. But where are those now? And you don't really have games that are. Uh, Fair enough. Um, you don't really quite have that level that I think you did. I really don't think games are phenomenal at teaching history. I'm not saying they're not fun, but and that's true. I mean, I think they're more like a Dan Brown novel, uh, uh, like Angels and Demons or the Da Vinci Code, where they put a lot of historical facts and locations together, and then they create a narrative around it from scratch. So that's how they do it. It just they use the setting, um, and they did just do it that way. I think it's an interesting way to go. But yeah, yeah, I really, I don't know, I don't know. It's really rough. Yeah, yeah, and you do get that. You do get that. Uh, right, right, Kurt. I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's almost the perfect way to put it. Games are better at teaching Hollywood versions of history. They teach a fanciful version of history, um, uh, the idealized version of history. In Renaissance times, it'd be the pre-Raphaelite version of history. The idealizing of saying, "Boy, I bet that was a fun time to live." Not for us now. Most of the time, we'd be pretty bored. I mean, without the internet, with without TV, um, without radio, without music at all, unless we or a musical group that we can listen to. Um, and yeah, I think that's what I was about to get to, Alacia. You just hit it perfectly. The hope is that some of this will spark interest in people, and they'll research more. You know, I mean, the old thing they used to say in the '80s is, you know, hey, they or in the '90s when you'd see like a special on TV or some television shows or stuff like Wishbone or whatever. Well, if you'd like to know more, go to the library, read a book, and they try to encourage you to do that, to research more. And that's kind of the hope. But at the same time, I think generally people who would be interested in that probably have already done that. I mean, I'm that way. I love information. Um, yeah, yeah, that is a good point. Um, that is a good example of that from mythology, although that's kind of history, sort of tangential to history. But to me, that's almost a history of theology as opposed to that. I know I did that on purpose. I totally said wishbone just to see who would respond, and I gotcha. Right. Yeah, I really think there are a lot of opportunities that are untapped. Um, in the gaming industry for teaching about about history. I mean, it's all come down to first person shooters and trying to do a game that works in many markets, not just the U.S. or China or Europe or South Korea. I mean, all these different places where you need these games to sell and you want to maximize it. So you kind of water down um, a lot of a lot of the lessons to make it as appealing as possible. Um, right, right. Always an option, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, so games. I don't know if that's the best avenue for teaching history. I do think it's an untapped market. I think they could do a lot better, but mainly because of corporate greed, they haven't really done that. That's my take on it. So yeah. Anyway, so I was just this all kind of came about from just thinking about the whole uh, yeah, virtual Ren Fair and where Ren Fairs are and where they're going. And we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to throw this out there to get your brains thinking a little about it and prepare your answers, because I'm going to be asking the tough questions about what you think Ren fairs need to do better, and what they need, where they need to go, and what online uh, programs or sites or whatever can do to help facilitate that, to can work with Ren fairs. I mean, share your ideas, and I'll maybe we can even work together on some stuff. Um, oh wow, talk about back to the past. A MUD. For those of you that don't know, MUD stands for multi-user domain, which is just sort of a text-based adventure game. But it was back in the day, you'd telnet into it before the web, and multiple people could telnet into it, and it was like an early MMO, like World of Warcraft, where you could talk to people in it and play the game together. So it was kind of a big deal. Uh, and yeah, and Kevin, you're totally right. They just wanted to grind for levels and play the game. And yeah, DARPA, always the classics. Anyway, so yeah, well, let's jump into, because this is already a ridiculously long show, and I'm going to eat dinner late. Let's just be honest. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does sound really cool. Uh, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming fairs, because there are a few, as always. Oh, and you were right last week about Canterbury shutting down and not opening this year. They canceled for this year. They should be open next year. Canterbury is in Northeast Texas, so that is off the map now. So yeah, we missed that one, but hey, I checked all the websites this week to make doubly sure that they everything was going, so we should be good. But hey, keep me, if you know of something that I missed, let me know. Let me know. Um, oh, okay. Yeah, I do vaguely remember that one. I do. Um, oh, and don't beat yourself up, Alacia. I missed it too. So yeah. Well, the thing is, I add some extra things to every fair now. I'll go and say what the theme is for the weekend, so I have to go to the websites for that anyway. And yeah, and also make sure I'm right with how many weekends are left for each one. So I have to go. I'm going to the websites anyway, so it's I'm not really checking because I doubt you. I'm checking since I'm already there, so don't worry. uh, yes. All good. All good. So yeah, let's jump into the fair map. Woohoo! Okay, and you want me to tell you these things? Um, sure, we can do that. If you want to start adding that. It was just something that I talked about, and you were still getting me the data, but you weren't hitting the shows because you were going out of town. So I hadn't brought it up yet. But yeah, we'll talk. That sounds great, Alicia. Excellent. Okay, so back to the laser pointer for all of you cat lovers out there. Always fun and fun. Oh yeah, and Kevin is mentioning Trivial Pursuit, and you are right. That was actually one of the big teaching things for me as a kid. I first played Trivial Pursuit when I was 8. My parents were kind of nuts. We we would have big trivia contests, and so yeah, that was all kind of interesting. I remember the first question I got right at Trivial Pursuit. Yeah, who won the first Super Bowl? That was the first question I actually answered right. Ah, the memories. Okay, right. That is on my list. So yeah, make a note of that, Damaris and Alacia, because yeah, that's we're definitely going to be adding a lot over the next several months. Alacia and I have already talked about having a meeting and really getting things going. So yeah, definitely. Okay. Woohoo! All right. So what we have here is let's get this up here. Nice. All right. Uh, Starting off, we have King Richard's Fair over in Carver, Massachusetts, and 5 more weekends left on that. And their theme for the weekend is Fandom in the Kingdom GOT, which is their way of saying it's a Game of Thrones theme without getting sued. So yes, that's what they're doing. Kind of interesting. And then you get the Connecticut Ren Fair, 4 more weekends left in Lebanon, Connecticut, and that's Wizard Weekend, which is a veiled version of Harry Potter. And once again, don't have to get sued. So yeah, it's bring your own wands kind of thing. Uh, always fun. So yeah, they're really branching out into the fandoms at Fair, really going away from the Renaissance aspect and going into fantasy a good bit, which I kind of understand. Then going into New York, still going on, is the New York Renaissance Fair. 3 more weekends in Tuxedo Park, New York. Always fun there. And uh, then we have Royalty and Rogues, the CNY Pirate Festival. Um, that is just 1 weekend in Stittville, New York. Going down to Pennsylvania, we have the Pennsylvania Ren Fair, 6 more weekends, and it's Time Travelers Weekend in Mannheim, Pennsylvania, and then the Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival, uh, which is the last weekend. And for the last weekend, they do Love and Romance Weekend. Um, oh, right, and yes, definitely go see Alacia at the King Richard's Fair. Yeah, that's because she is going to be there. She's up there in New England area, so always fun, always fun. Uh, oh wow, okay. Now we're asking the serious questions. Okay, let's continue on with Maryland Renaissance Festival. 5 more weekends there in Annapolis, Maryland, and that is Myth and Magic Week. So ooh, some fun there. Then we have right around the same place is the um, Renaissance Fair at Furnace Town in Snow Hill, Maryland, 1 weekend. And then the Ohio Renaissance Festival is 6 more weekends, and it's Highland Weekend in Waynesville, Ohio. And some of the people I know are going to be there. Lady Victoria and Judas and Magnolia, and oh wow, Axel the Sot. That's old school. Remember him from Kansas City back in the day. Uh, how how is he still doing fairs? Oh, am I still doing fairs? So I guess I can't throw stones. Okay, Michigan Renaissance Festival is 2 more weekends, and their theme is Harvest Huzzah. That's in Holly, Michigan. Then going down to Indiana at the Clayshire Castle Medieval Fair in Bowling Green, Indiana. It's just 1 weekend. A fun little fair. Then jumping over to the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, 2 more weekends at Shakopee, Minnesota. Their theme is Shamrocks and Shenanigans. So just that right amount of Irish fun. Then going down to Iowa, the Greater Quad Cities Renaissance Fair in Davenport, Iowa, just 1 weekend there. Then, of course, we have the Kansas City Renaissance Festival with Shamrocks and Shenanigans as well. 4 more weekends left there in Bonner Springs, Kansas. And then on the other side of Missouri, we have the St. Louis Renaissance Festival. 5 more weekends of that in Wentzville, Missouri. And the theme is Pups, Pints, and Pirates. So, 3 Ps. And of course, as a group there that I know, they have 3 pints gone, coincidentally. And Ermagerd the Bard is there too from that you might have seen from Sherwood. Uh, so oh yeah, okay. See the TARDIS at Pennsylvania Ren Fair. Excellent, excellent. Um, right, and Axel, he is a great guy. He's hilarious, really nice guy. Um, definitely. So then moving on over, so we have in California, we have 3 in California now. We have let's see, the Northern California Renaissance Fair in Hollister, California. That's 5 more weekends. Pirate Invasion weekend. Then we have the Folsom Renaissance Fair uh, in Folsom, California. That's down here, 1 weekend only. Epoxy Boggards will be there. And then we have in Idlewild, California, the Idlewild Renaissance Fair. Now that's a weird one for me because I associate Idlewild with JFK Airport in New York because that's what it used to be called, Idlewild Airport, before they renamed it in '63. So yeah, the weird stuff I know. Uh, Always. And of course, some of you may have noticed the little star over in the blue. And that is representative of our friends in Canada. And it's the Oxford Renaissance Festival in Dorchester, Ontario. And that's Friday and Sunday. Friday through Sunday only. One weekend. A long 3-day weekend. So, yes, there you go. Uh, a fun time with that. Okay. Okay, so we're back. Wow. So yeah, a long show today. Let's. I probably shouldn't even do 7 reasons. Wow, I feel guilty. And I even did a 7 reasons based on the joke that was made last week about how long. Why are T-Rex's arms so small? You know, I mean that was when I showed the picture last week of with the T-Rex parade at Dragon Con. Somebody said, "Yeah, just do a." Who was it? Susan, I think. I don't know. Said made the joke about just do 7 reasons why their arms are so short. So I was going to do that. So, um, oh wow, okay. Oh, 7 reasons why I won't be doing 7 reasons tonight. I like that. That might be next weekend. What next week? Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good. Okay. We'll throw it in real quick. And this I took very seriously. I did the research. I looked up the writings of different paleontologists through the years. So I'm actually doing this. Oh, and I actually have them all showing. So now you can see them all. Okay, there we go. Number 7. Number 7, small but strong. Don't worry, I'll get to dinner quick. I promise. I promise. I'll get there. I'll get there. This will be quick. Because these are serious. I did do the research on this. Thanks, Tavares. Yes, I'm doing it. Shut up, okay? I'm doing it, okay? So, uh, small but strong. The truth is that they are small, but they are actually incredibly strong. Their arms can bench press 400 pounds based on scientific analysis. So even though they're small, I mean, they could throw one of their arms could throw a person across a field. I mean, it would be ridiculous. They incredibly strong, and part of especially with the two 4-inch claws that they had, they could really pummel somebody if they ever got close. So yeah, I mean, if they were longer, they might not be able to be as strong. So the idea was that maybe they were small in order the smaller armed T-Rexes back before the evolution kind of made them all that way had stronger arms. So it kind of the strength was something that they wanted. Um, so right, exactly. I'm trying to do the right thing here, Janine. I really am. Number 6, big arms would affect balance. You know, you get these big, bulky arms out there, and you already got a T-Rex that's leaning forward just to balance. And yeah, you make them small and a better center of balance. That was one of the ideas. It's not very popular, but I read it, so I threw it in there. And yeah, an evolutionary holdover. Now, this one was interesting. Sort of like wisdom teeth for humans, or an appendix, or wings for flightless birds that don't really use them. It's yeah, just a holdover where eventually their heads got big and they never used their arms, and gradually they got smaller and just not used much. Um, and they were still around, but they didn't really need them. They could have done without them and been fine. So that's one of the theories going on. Number 4, help them to have sex. And this was actually the original theory, because when the first T-Rex skeleton was discovered, well over 100 years ago, they looked at it and were like, they thought it might be two skeletons mashed together because his arms can't be that small. And one of the people there just said, "Oh, well, maybe it was for holding the mate during sex, and that's why they was a sex thing." Yeah, I think it's just paleontologists can be pretty perverse in their brains sometimes, because that keeps coming up. No pun intended. Because it's you know, decade after decade, paleontologists keep throwing this theory out there and trying to prove it, and there's really no justification for it, and it sounds pretty stupid. So I'm just gonna go with paleontologists lead sheltered lives, so they think too much about sex. That's what I'm gonna go. Number three, um, support to stand back up. And the idea is if they ever fall over, you get those strong arms, strong arms, even though they're small, but they're strong enough to be able to kind of push them up and do a quick little push up that can right them. And with longer, gangly arms, they might have more mobility with them, but they wouldn't have the strength to push up. Um, so yeah, that's one theory. I mean, maybe some truth there, but I don't know. I don't know. Number two, um, longer in their younger years. I mean, the theory is that when they were small, those small arms, percentage wise, were actually much bigger. They started out at a decent size, and they didn't grow as much as the T Rex did. So what happens is when they were young, they used their arms a lot when they had small mouths and they needed them. But as their heads got really big, they didn't really need the arms anymore. So it just became a thing. That I kind of buy a little bit. I think that makes sense. That there might be some truth there. Um, yes, exactly. The arms just kind of maybe atrophied a little bit as they got older. They just weren't really used for anything. I mean, maybe just support a little bit to stand back up. I mean, maybe that was a backup just in case, and they might have been used for that too. But I think that's the gist. And finally, now this is the one I actually really like and agree with the most. This is a recent theory, and it was by a paleontologist who thought that people were asking the wrong questions. Not what arms would be used for, but why would arms evolve this way? And that was the question they should be asking. And I like this. Avoided competition bites. Because you normally see the T Rex as the lone hunter, but that's not exactly true. There were T Rexes in groups. So they'd down an animal, and the T Rexes would all come in and try to chew it up and get that. And if one of the T Rexes was biting off some meat that another T Rex thought he was going to get himself, then he might nibble around below and do a little anger bite to say get away. And the most likely thing to get in the way would be the arms. They'd be biting their arms off during feeding, and the small arms, if you had longer arms, it would get infected, you'd die, you wouldn't procreate. The over time, over thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years, the T Rexes, the smaller armed ones, didn't lose their arms and get infected and die during feeding. And I kind of like, that kind of makes sense. I like that one. I like that one. So there you go. Never let it be said I don't listen to you. 7 reasons T Rexes have tiny arms. So there you go. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, we'll use that as the optional number 8. Keeps them from biting their nails. Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have had to have this long plastic cone around their head. And that's never good. Never good. I know, right? Right. Oh yeah. Right. There are a lot of questions about what type of hunting T-Rex is engaged in, and I mean, even the last paleontologist said that there's no way to prove it. I mean, they've been dead for 64 million years or whatever. It's not really. You're never going to know for sure. This is all just conjecture and um, the cone of shame. And yes, that Elizabethan collar. I mean, it's just not really good. So anyway, this was an exceptionally long episode, but I wanted to get everything in, and we'll talk more about where fairs are, where they're going, and into the online world and what they should be doing, and a little bit about what we should be doing, and a little bit about what we will be. So that we'll be talking about that over the upcoming weeks. So definitely start thinking about it yourself, because I would love to hear from you and get some feedback about what you think online fairs should do, or online support uh, groups for fairs should do, and what you'd like us to do. If you have any suggestions or thoughts, we'd love to hear them. So take care, enjoy, have a good week, and as always, a fair life. And remember, talk like a pirate day. Arr!